Arthur was 68 years old. He ate his bland oatmeal, walked his dog, and swallowed his blood pressure medication every single morning. His numbers at the clinic were always perfectly average. But last Tuesday, I was standing over him in the operating room, holding his beating heart in my hands. I was desperately trying to repair a catastrophic tear in his aorta. The monitors were blaring. The damage was not from a sudden, violent spike. It was from a slow, silent, microscopic pressure cooker building up inside his chest. Like many of you, he was terrified of having a silent heart attack or a stroke during his sleep or early in the morning. And the tragic part is the very system that told him he was safe completely missed the real engine driving his hypertension. You see, the modern medical system is deeply broken. Your doctors are not bad people, but the system only gives them 7 to 10 minutes per patient. In those rushed, exhausting appointments, it is far easier to just prescribe another pill instead of looking at the root cause. If you're over 60 and wrestling with stubborn blood pressure, feeling ignored or rushed by the system, I need you to hear my voice right now. You have done everything right. You followed the rules. You restricted your life, but the system failed you. The truth is, Arthur did not need a fourth prescription. He was missing a simple biological trigger, a 10-minute daily habit that naturally signals your vascular system to release the pressure valves. It is entirely free, simple to do, and works with your biology instead of masking the symptoms. Before I show you exactly how to perform this 10-minute reset, we need to look at the massive, invisible mistake happening in your routine right now. I am Dr. Marcus Caldwell. I am a cardiothoracic surgeon, and for the last decade, I have stood on the front lines of the operating room. I have spent my career opening chests and holding beating human hearts in my hands. I have seen exactly what years of hidden pressure does to your arteries, and I'm deeply frustrated watching the traditional medical system fail you with rushed 7-minute appointments. I started this channel to give you the honest truth and the time you actually deserve. If you want to take back control of your health, protect your independence, and avoid the devastating complications of unnecessary medications, hit the subscribe button right now. Join our community of people who refuse to be treated like just another number on a chart. You need to be armed with the right knowledge, because the real enemy stealing your vitality is not what you think. It is something built into your daily routine, quietly tightening the grip on your heart while you sleep. Let us talk about the invisible trap you have been caught in for years. You sit in that cold examination room, shivering slightly in a paper gown, waiting for the doctor. They rush in, wrap the cuff around your arm, look at the monitor, and shake their head. The number is too high. Again. And what happens next? They pull out the prescription pad. They tell you to cut out the salt, restrict your life, and swallow another pill. They treat that textbook number, 120/80, as if it is the absolute holy grail of health. But here is the devastating truth that the medical system is simply too massive and too slow to update. Those rigid guidelines were heavily influenced decades ago, and they are aggressively maintained by a system that prioritizes quick, one-size-fits-all fixes over nuanced, individualized care. Pushing a 75-year-old body to artificially maintain the blood pressure of a 30-year-old is not just unnatural. It is genuinely dangerous. When a system forces your pressure down aggressively with heavy doses of medication, they're severely compromising the vital blood flow your brain and your major organs desperately need to function. This unnatural lowering is exactly why so many older adults suffer from severe brain fog, extreme daily fatigue, and sudden, terrifying dizziness when they stand up from chair. That dizziness is not just an inconvenience. It is a massive red flag. One dizzy spell leads to a fall, a shattered hip, a catastrophic emergency surgery, and the absolute loss of your independence. You end up in a nursing home, robbed of your dignity and your autonomy, all because a rigid, outdated protocol demanded your numbers look pretty on a rush doctor's chart. The system focuses entirely on forcing the numbers down, completely ignoring the horrific side effects that drain the joy and vitality right out of your life. I need you to listen to me very carefully right now. If you are exhausted all the time, if you feel like a shadow of your former self, if you're terrified of the medications you take every morning, but even more terrified of what might happen without them, it is not your fault. You have been carrying the weight of this anxiety for far too long. You followed every single instruction. You ate the tasteless, unseasoned food. You swallowed the pills that made your muscles ache and your memory blur. You did the work. You did exactly what you were told to do. The failure does not belong to you. The failure belongs to a medical infrastructure that simply does not have the time, the resources, or the structure to look at you as a whole, complex human being. They made you feel like your body is broken and failing. But your body is not broken. Your body is incredibly intelligent, and it is trying to adapt to the natural aging process. As we cross our 60th year, our vascular network fundamentally changes, and pushing against those natural changes with brute force pharmacology creates a chaotic battlefield inside your chest. We need to stop fighting your biology and start supporting it. We need to look at the actual root cause of why that pressure is building up in the first place. And the true cause has absolutely nothing to do with how much salt you put on your eggs this morning. The real reason your numbers refuse to stabilize is hidden inside a specific physiological process that happens every single day. Once you understand the mechanics of this hidden trigger, everything changes. To truly fix a problem, we must understand the battlefield. When I am in the operating room, standing beneath the harsh surgical lights, I do not see the abstract numbers that your doctor sees on a computer screen. I see the raw, physical reality of the human body. I see the exact toll that decades of silent stress take on the tissues that keep you alive. And I need to explain what is happening inside your chest right now, not with confusing medical jargon, but with the brutal, beautiful truth of your biology. When we are young, the inner lining of our blood vessels, an incredibly delicate layer of cells called the endothelium, is a powerhouse. It constantly produces a miracle molecule known as nitric oxide. This molecule is the ultimate peacekeeper. It tells the muscular walls of your arteries to relax, to expand, and to let the blood flow effortlessly like a wide, calm river. But as we cross the threshold of 60 years old, a profound shift occurs. Your natural production of nitric oxide plummets. The peacekeeper fades away. Without that constant signal to relax, the walls of your blood vessels begin to clamp down. Your arteries are not dead metal plumbing hidden behind drywall. They're living, breathing, muscular tissues. Think of a thick, high-quality garden hose. When you buy it new, the rubber is supple. You can bend it, twist it, and the water flows smoothly. But if you leave that hose out in the freezing weather year after year, the material becomes stiff, rigid, and unyielding. It loses its vital elasticity. When your heart, a muscle no bigger than your closed fist, tries to pump heavy, oxygen-rich blood through a network of stiffened, narrowed pathways, it has to work exponentially harder. The pressure inevitably skyrockets. But the physical stiffness is only half of the devastating equation. The real villain, the invisible force that your rushed doctor completely ignored, is your own nervous system. Deep inside your brain, there's an ancient survival mechanism called the autonomic nervous system. It has two main gears. The sympathetic gear is your fight or flight response. It is the alarm bell that rings when you're in physical danger, causing your blood vessels to violently constrict and your heart to race so you can survive an attack. The parasympathetic gear is your rest and digest mode. It is the soothing, powerful signal that tells your body you are safe, allowing your vessels to dilate and your organs to heal. In a healthy, youthful system, your body effortlessly shifts between these two gears. But here is the tragic reality of aging in our modern world. Through years of chronic low-level inflammation, the emotional trauma of losing loved ones, the persistent aches in your joints, and the anxiety of simply growing older in a system that often treats you like a burden, your brain gets permanently locked in that fight or flight gear. Your body constantly thinks it is under attack. It never shifts into the healing mode. Even when you're sitting quietly in your favorite armchair watching television, even when you're lying in bed at night trying to sleep, your sympathetic nervous system is screaming at your arteries to stay tight, clamped, and defensive. This is not just a theory. A landmark study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology mapped this exact phenomenon. The researchers discovered that in adults over the age of 65, sympathetic nerve activity, the stress signal traveling from the brain to the heart, remains chronically and abnormally elevated. The neurological switch literally gets stuck in the active position. This chronic state of emergency creates a relentless, invisible tension inside your chest. It is the reason why your blood pressure spikes dangerously in the early morning hours, right before you wake up, creating that terrifying window of vulnerability where sudden cardiac events and strokes are most likely to occur. This is the profound biological truth that a 7-minute consultation completely misses. Your elevated pressure is not a sign that your body is broken. It is a sign that your brain is desperately trying to protect you, but the survival switch is jammed. Now, think about the standard medical solution. They give you a chemical diuretic to artificially flush water out of your kidneys, or a beta blocker to forcibly slow the electrical impulses in your heart. Do either of those pills flip the neurological switch? Do they tell your brain that you are safe? No, they simply mask the biological distress signal. They put a chemical patch over a screaming nervous system. And that is exactly why you still feel exhausted, why the brain fog clouds your mind, and why the numbers always creep back up the moment the medication wears off. You cannot heal a nervous system problem with brute force pharmacology. You cannot reverse decades of vascular tension by simply removing salt from your dinner plate. To actually reclaim your vitality, protect your independence, and support your biology naturally, you have to bypass the stomach entirely. You have to send a direct, undeniable, physical signal straight to your brain stem to manually flip that switch back to the resting gear. And there's a highly specific, entirely free mechanism to do exactly that, using nothing but your own body for 10 minutes a day. Now, I'm going to give you the keys back. This is the part where you stop being a passive passenger in your own body and start being the driver of your own biology. We're going to use a technique I call the Vagal Reset. It takes exactly 10 minutes of your day. It requires no expensive equipment, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Step 1. Identifying the strategic window. You must perform this habit during what I call the vulnerability gap. This is the high-risk period, usually the first 20 minutes after you wake up or the 30 minutes right before you climb into bed. This is the specific time when your sympathetic nervous system is most likely to trap you in a high-pressure spike, the same kind of spike that leads to the silent heart attacks we all fear. I want you to find a quiet place to sit. Do not lie down yet. Sit in a chair where your feet can firmly touch the floor. Do not cross your legs or your arms. In the operating room, we know that any physical crossing of the limbs creates microtensions in the fascia that signal your brain to remain in a state of high alert. Uncross your body to signal that the battle is over for now. Step 2. The nitric oxide ignition. As I mentioned before, the modern medical system often ignores the fact that most of us have become chest breathers due to decades of chronic stress. This shallow breathing keeps you locked in a state of low-grade panic. To flip the switch, place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. You're going to breathe exclusively through your nose. This is vital because your sinuses are the primary factory for nitric oxide. When you breathe through your mouth, you bypass this natural vasodilator entirely. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, feeling your belly, not your chest. Push your hand outward. Then exhale through your nose for a count of 6. That longer, controlled exhale is the secret physiological code that tells your brain stem to deactivate the fight or flight gear and engage the healing mode. Step 3. The 60-second isometric release. While you maintain that slow, rhythmic breathing, I want you to squeeze both of your hands in a firm fist. You're not trying to crush anything. Use about 30% of your maximum strength. Hold this squeeze for exactly 60 seconds while continuing to breathe through your nose. This creates a brief, controlled increase in resistance. When you finally release your grip after those 60 seconds, your body triggers a rebound dilation. It is a biological reflex where your peripheral blood vessels open up wider than they were before the squeeze. You might feel a wave of warmth or a slight tingling in your fingertips. That is not something to fear. That is the physical sensation of your vascular system finally relaxing its grip and allowing your blood to flow freely into your extremities, which immediately takes the dangerous pressure off your heart and your brain. Step 4. The narrative shift. This is perhaps the most important practical detail. As you perform these 10 minutes of rhythmic breathing and isometric release, I want you to consciously reclaim your role as the advocate for your own health. The system has spent years making you feel small, ignored, and powerless, like you were just a collection of symptoms to be managed with a prescription pad. During these 10 minutes, you're proving to yourself that you have the power to influence your own internal environment. This shift from patient to advocate fundamentally lowers the cortisol levels that contribute to arterial stiffness and memory fog. You're not just doing a breathing exercise, you're performing a daily act of defiance against a medical system that only gives you 7 minutes of its time. Why does this 10-minute habit work when the pills often fail to provide lasting peace? It works because you are finally addressing the electrical and neurological root of the problem. A chemical pill can force a number down on a chart, but it cannot tell your brain that you are safe. It cannot repair the communication between your nervous system and your heart. By combining nasal nitric oxide production with parasympathetic breathing and the isometric rebound effect, you are manually overriding the stuck survival switch that has been driving your hypertension for years. You are now armed with a proven method that works with your biology instead of against it. Use this Vagal Reset for 7 consecutive days. Keep a simple log of how you feel, not just your numbers, but your energy levels and your mental clarity. When you walk into your next doctor's appointment, do not just sit there and wait for them to tell you what to do. Show them your progress. Use the knowledge you have gained here to have an honest, adult conversation. Tell them, I have been implementing a daily physiological habit to support my vascular health, and I am seeing real results. I want us to discuss a plan to eventually taper my medication so I can maintain my independence and avoid these side effects. You are choosing quality of life over a quantity of pills. You are choosing to live with dignity and autonomy rather than spending your golden years as a victim of a system focused on profits over people. This is how you take back control. This is how you protect your heart while keeping your mind sharp and your body strong. Please understand that while I have spent decades in the operating room, I am not your personal physician. The insights I am sharing with you today are for general educational purposes and to provide you with the information you deserve. Do not stop taking any of your prescribed medications or alter your medical treatment plan based solely on this video. Instead, I want you to use this knowledge to have a much more productive, focused, and honest conversation with your own doctor. Bring your notes, show them your progress, and advocate for yourself. My mission is to empower you to take the reins of your own health and ensure you are being treated for the root cause of your concerns, not just your symptoms. Before you go, I want to hear from you. What was your systolic reading today? Write it down in the comments below. Let this be your public declaration that you are taking charge of your own health. I also want you to do something incredibly important. If you have a spouse, a sibling, or a dear friend over 60 who is trapped in this cycle of medication and fear, share this video with them right now. You might be the person who saves them from a catastrophic fall, a sudden stroke, or a needless emergency room visit. We are building a community here of survivors and advocates who value quality of life over a quantity of pills. The system might only give you 7 minutes, but here, we take all the time we need to get to the truth. You deserve to live your golden years with a sharp mind and a strong, independent body. Resting in peace is for much later. Right now, you have a life to live with dignity and autonomy. If you want to continue this journey and learn more about how to protect yourself from the hidden traps of the traditional system, I have prepared something else for you. There is a common medication that millions of seniors take every single morning, believing it is helping their heart, when in reality, it might be slowly poisoning their system and causing permanent damage. Click the video appearing on the screen right now to see exactly which pill it is and why you need to ask your doctor about it immediately. I will see you there.